Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech with your host Elias. I'm gonna be talking about two things here. I have a lot of catching up to do. This is Black History Month. I know I haven't covered any content regarding that, but this episode is going to rectify that today. And I'm going to talk about, more importantly, the everyday or common items that people use that's made lives easier, that were invented by Black Americans. Okay. White people have invented a lot of things, but Black people have invented some things too. Yeah, they have. And we need to give credit to that. And to be honest, we shouldn't be doing this during Black History Month. I think this should be talked about as often and as necessary as possible. So just assuming, oh, the white guy invented everything. Trust me, I know not everyone thinks that, but our minds get lazy and we assume and generalize things. And that's why we come up with stupid comments and sometimes unintentionally offending people. I know I'm the last one to talk because sometimes I don't care about people's feelings. And that's something I gotta work on. Yeah, being honest, I am not the most empathetic sometimes. Sometimes I just want to get things done and fulfill my to-do list. So I'm just going, all right, come on, hurry up. I got things to do here. I know. I'm going to talk about mostly two things. I'm going to talk very little bit about the Democrat presidential primary. We all know Biden's going to get there. I mean, there's just not much to talk about there. I mean, I can just tell you about all the delegates he's got, so I'm going to report. But in terms of the Republican side, it's a little more interesting at this point. Just a little more, okay? After the Iowa caucuses, a lot of the candidates dropped like flies, figuratively speaking. And I'm also one more thing I'm gonna add is I'm gonna look at the polling for the governor's races. Yeah, 'cause I think they're important too. The governor's races are very important. And I'm going to look more into that. I would say definitely the next season, I will talk more about the Senate and the House Representative races, the ones that are interesting because there are over 435. I cannot possibly cover that. I just want to pay attention to ones that are interesting. The ones in California, that one's going to be very interesting. Shockingly, a GOP has a shot at winning it. Yeah, I know in California. Trust me, I am not talking about elephants flying, Dumbo stuff. It is actually a possibility. Has the left gone too far in California? Well, we'll see. After November, we'll know the answer for sure. But it seems like it's heading that direction. So, all right. Before I yammer, give you the tease about next season, what I'm going to be talking about more in depth because I don't want to just go through these preliminary polls. I want to do that only for the governor's race, even though it's not going to really move the needle all that much. I mean, the Dems can really do is just take one extra seat, I guess. But the Republicans are still going to be the majority of the governorship. It might stay the same, or they might lose a seat, or they might even gain one. Yeah, but it's not going to move the needle all that much. But it's important because that's the state's policies affects your life to a great extent more than federal policy, and especially local policy. Local policy affects your life more directly than even the state's policy to a great extent. All right. That's all I'm going to tell you. And yes, I am somewhat quoting from the Sexy Political. Shout out to Jackie because that is actually wise to focus on local and state politics. One third party is doing that is the libertarians. Haven't gained much progress. Yeah, actually, I'm going to be even more brutal. They gained zero, okay? Zero progress. For those of you who are listening, I just did a big fat zero, okay? But you can picture that. You're smart, okay? And so far, none of you have gave me troll nonsense or even hater commentary. I just make some of them up for entertainment purposes. If you wonder if I'm acting crazy, it's because, yeah, a lot of it's for entertainment purposes. Okay, you got that answered. Now let's get right into it. I'm going to show you the article later. I'm just going to read and let's talk about this primary tracker. I'm going to use NBC for one. Be a little nicer to them, okay? Trump has 63 as of now. Nikki Haley has 17. Wow, well, all that hustle and bustle, she only got 17. Trump needs 12, 15 to win. Ron DeSantis had 9. He dropped out, so those are going to go to Trump. Vivek Ramaswamy gained 3. Those are going to go to Trump as well. Assuming that he doesn't get locked up or pull out a primary because of legal cases. Well, as of now, He has 75. Well, I say that because those delegates are going to go to Trump effectively. Nikki Haley only has 17, despite all the hustle and bustling she has done. Gotta give her credit. She's trying her best, even though there is no path to victory except for a special circumstance where Trump gets arrested or die. And Joe Biden, as of now, he needs 1,968 delegates to win. He's gotten every single one of them the total score of 91 delegates. That's what I'm going to say about Biden. Dean Phillips is stand a chance. Marianne Williamson finally realizes that she dropped out. There's only he's staying there. He's trying to be just as stubborn as Nikki Haley on the Republican side, but he has to gain a single delegate. Oh, Nikki Haley has more clout, and she could definitely talk a hell of a lot better than that Dean Phillips. I mean, a few of his ads were funny and cringe, but we'll see. We will see. I don't see much hope. He even flirted the idea of a uni ticket with her, which is a very interesting idea, but I don't think that's gonna pan out. All right. So the date of this recording, this is the 23rd of February. The reason I was important for this because you won't think I'm outdated or anything like that. By the time you get this recording, South Carolina is gonna have their primary for the Republican, okay? And we'll be getting the scores when this happens. And a few days after that, we have the Michigan primary of February 27th. March 2nd, there is the Michigan primary, their caucuses. Idaho, Missouri is going to have they're not primaries, excuse me. They are caucuses. I think they need to remove the caucus system. Just do a primary. You gotta be more inclusive with that. Only certain people got time for a caucus. They're doing that because since they have more of an elder base, they'll get a participation. Yeah, they'll get a higher participation rate as opposed to Democrats, who are generally more younger, more educated. When we educated, that they have gained college certification. That's how we measure education. We're not talking about street smarts, which you should count that as education. District of Columbia is going to have their primary, and North Dakota is going to have their caucus. So they got 50 delegates up for grabs. The Michigan is Michigan's primary. 16 delegates up for grabs for Republicans, and then for Democrats is 117. For Michigan, March 2nd, there's 39 delegates up for grabs for Republican caucus. For Idaho, the same day, 32 delegates for Republicans to grab. And then for Missouri, 54. District of Columbia, the capital city of America, only 19 for the Republican primary. North Dakota, which is a caucus, 29 is up for grabs on March 4th. District of Columbia is at March 3rd. Now, the big one. Oh, the big one. This is going to be huge. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things. It's not just the presidential primary. We have in the House and the Senate on some of these states, okay? And this is, of course, the primary. This is not the general. So for Alabama, they got all their House representatives up for re-election. Republicans got 52 delegates to grab for presidential primary. Dems have 52. Let me repeat that. For Alabama, there are 52 delegates for you to grab. For Democrats side, for Republicans, it's only 50. And it's a primary. I think all of them are primary. Yeah, they don't got time for that caucus thing. Yeah, every single except for America Samoa. America Samoa is the only territory that has a caucus. But everything else is a primary. Everything else is Super Tuesday is a primary. The only one is not is America Samoa. That's the fun thing about U.S. territories. They are only allowed to participate in the primary process, but when it comes to general election, they get no say. So North Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, America Samoa, the U.S. Virgin Islands, they have zero say. Zero when it comes to the general election. That's only the 50 states. And the capital. They're just that important. There's going to be a lot of delegates to grab. I really don't blame embassy to follow the Republican side because that's where competition is a little more viable. Okay. Like California is interesting because they have the Senate and the House doing the primary the same day. So it's going to be a lot of voting going on. A lot of voting. And for Iowa, it's interesting. Only Democrats are doing their primary because Republicans already did theirs in January. They already did that state. If Alaska is only for Republicans that are doing it. And if for both parties, they're going to be very involved with Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and the territory, America, Samoa. I'm not going to give you too much numbers here. I think it's going to get overwhelming from here. But North Carolina is also going through the governor. Actually, yeah, that's one of the states that are going to pick their governor this year. One of the 8 states, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at the 2024 governor races. Oh, excuse me, gubernatorial elections. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. So these are states again. Delaware, safe. Democrat, this state. This is a safe state. Nothing's gonna happen. Boring. Indiana, Missouri, Montana, boring. Very safe Republican state. New Hampshire, where is interesting, in North Carolina, they both are interesting because those are toss-up. They are toss-ups. These are the kind of seats where Dems and Republicans could potentially grab. All right, they could take this. All right, that's the ones that could be very interesting. And Vermont is also pretty interesting because that Republican governor, even though the voter base is dominantly Democrat, good job on Phil Scott. Quality candidate matters, being sensible matters. And then West Virginia, boring. It's a very, very Republican state, very, very Republican. Washington, pretty boring. Nothing exciting is going to happen there. North Carolina is where it's going to get very interesting. Roy Cooper. I think North Carolina is barely Republicans R+3, according to the partisan voting index. Yeah, I don't think not a lot of switches are going to happen. Even though that one has a high Democrat score, but he did good. He won almost 70% of the vote, Phil Scott. So I got to say, for the fact that they say he's solid, that means he's doing something right at a Democrat state. Good for him, really. Take note. And Roy Cooper, pretty decent too. I respect, you might not like your policies, but hey, Chris Sununu, disagree him some things, but you know what? Well, New Hampshire's always been a purple state, so can't say he's not that impressive. And North Carolina is becoming increasingly purple. South Carolina, on the other hand, is solid Republican. All right. Who's gonna win all of this? I don't think that's the interesting question. It's how much they're gonna win is more the better question, really. Yeah, Super Tuesday is where a lot of the excitement is going to happen. We're going to see how much delegates are going to be snagged. And then I'm going to be talking until March 16th. Because trust me, I'm already throwing a lot of information at you. Really, I'm just pew, 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 pew. I'm giving you just so much information. Okay. So if you're listening to this for any state, get ready to vote. Even though I say stay in local election report, but these are also important as well because they affect the global stage and federal policies that could have some impact on you. For March 6th, right after Super Tuesday, there's the Hawaii Democratic primary, only for Democrats. And then I'm going to call March 12th mini Super Tuesday. Georgia, Washington State, Mississippi has both of their states holding their events, and they're all primaries. Hawaii has a caucus, and that's for Republicans only in March 12th because March 6th, Democrats have their primary. North Mariana Islands, where Democrats have their event there, and Democrats abroad. Yeah, even that group, they only get to participate in the presidential primary. And there is decent amount of delegates to grab. And then for the 15th, North Mariana Islands, Republicans only, they have a caucus. And then for March 16th, Guam is going to have a Republican caucus. I'm not going to talk about the rest because I'm going to do a separate episode on that. Trust me, I'm throwing you a whole bunch of stuff. And I don't know where some of you are at. So I'm just throwing a shit ton of information. Yeah, I'm throwing you so much information already. And I think that's enough. I really think that's enough. The Senate and all that good stuff. Looks like I'm going to have to push up that. I'm going to talk more about the results, which I'm more excited about that. California is going to have their Senate result. So is Texas. And I think really that's about it. For those of you who are watching, if I'm not looking at it, because I'm looking at the MSNBC Decision 2024 page. So don't worry, I'm not treating you like you're insignificant. Can't do two things at once. I'm a pretty bad multitasker. Society demands that. Well, a lot of studies have shown that multitasking is actually really bad for your brain. So society wants you to damage your brain for their well-being. Yeah, it's like an anti-corporate left on that one. But that makes me a left. I'm a proud left on that front. All right, so that's your 2024 kind of the brief update. Now I want to talk about something more exciting. Why there's a patriotic Black man holding the American flag, because Black history is American history. And we gotta get to the point where we could just easily mesh that together and talk about it as if it's nothing. And I have to quote this man. I think he has the most healthiest idea about the race, to Coleman Hughes. I have to say he's one of the few I actually don't mind listening to. If it's a very radical someone who's saying that all of America's racist, all of America's evil, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to think you're a bitter human being and you're unhappy and nothing's going to satisfy you. And even the same thing with the white people that talk about race and all that. If you talk about race with such vitriol, I can't take you seriously. I tune out because I'm going to perceive you as that. If you can discuss about it, fine. I don't mind talking about it. It's more about the how. And I don't even care if you call me a snowflake. There is a time and a place where you got to cut off conversation because, to be honest, some human beings don't have the capacity to conversate. All right. So now let's talk about Black Americans that have invented things that made general life easier. I'm not talking about crazy scientific, I'm talking practical stuff that have made life so much easier. Okay. A much better ironing board invented by Sarah Bourne in 1892. Okay. A Black woman invented a much better ironing board. And of course, she was born as a slave. She expanded on it, improved on it. She made a curved design that how most ironing boards are made. Before it was more like a plank. And a lot of ironing boards are designed that way. So thank Sarah Bourne, a Black woman, a homeland security system. A Black man contributed a lot to this. Marie Van Brittan Brown, invented in 1966. No, this is not a 200 years ago invention. This is during the civil rights era. Okay. And she spent many home alone while her husband's away, felt unsafe because of the high crime rate. Oh, well, we experiencing that today. History does repeat itself because we have so many foolish people. It is overly dominated by Democrats. So that part, I blame the Democrats. Don't blame the Republicans for New York. They have essentially, they only at best control like 5 to 10% of New York City at their best. So don't give me that garbage. So she has invented a camera that could look into pee holes. And now we have security systems thanks to that. First, don't blame her. And then the traffic light symbol, the one we use today. Some of us are annoyed with it. Us should love. The red light feels too damn long. I'm particularly speaking to New Jersey, New York drivers because they are some of the most impatient. Yeah, I gotta call them out. I like y'all, but y'all losing my love. It was invented by Garrett Morgan, a Black man, in 1923. That's a little after the car boom, the motorized car boom. Refrigerator trucks was invented by Frederick McKinley Jones in 1940. If you transport goods without having them rot, sure, I was a much crazier issue back then. Of course, you could travel very far with it. Oh, you could thank a Black man for that. Automatic elevator doors, invented by Alexander Miles in 1887. So, wow, I would have thought this would have came like 1910. No, 1887. Probably became more popular in 1910. Before, of course, elevators had to be manual. I mean, only very few places have that. More like freight elevator locations, they have that where the person at the press. Even clothes, they keep it there for landmark legacy's sake. And now the electric microphone, co-invented by James E. West. So he helped contribute to the creation of the microphone. Okay. And then the carbon light bulb filament. Yeah. That was invented by Louis Latham in 1881. Okay. He probably made the thing easier to insert the light bulb. Okay. Thomas Edison already perfected the light bulb itself, but he made the carbon filament much more easier. Oh, these things matter. So you just put the light in and put the light out. Okay. Before you use bamboo and things that would just blow up and stuff. It was gas lamps prior to that. They were pretty unsafe. Now the color IBM PC monitor and gigahertz chip, invented by the respective dates. The color IBM PC monitor was built in 1980, co-invented by Mark Dean, and he also had a gigahertz chip. He developed that in 1999. Yeah, I was still a child, aging myself here. Back then, there was no color in a lot of these things, okay? He put the color into the computer. Okay, most computers were black screens with green characters and letters, just like those old movies you watched. All right, and I don't know why they didn't mention George Washington Carver for the inventor of peanut butter. Well, peanut butter has, I think, a mixed rep if you ask some people. Well, that's an important invention. That's a flavor additive. George Washington Carver. People use that a lot. I don't know why they didn't add that in there. That's a bit criminal. Oh, man. I think that's a little criminal. I mean, shit. Why are they not adding that? He made a whole bunch of stuff using peanut butter. Those are his inventions that were recognized in 1906. Okay, use your medicines, low Well, we don't use peanut butter for soap, let's be clear. Probably not a good idea, but we use it for food. Interesting guy. Found over 300 crazy ways to use peanut butter, but a few of them end up being useful for food. Okay. So that you could thank for a black man. And oh, I forgot, and shame on me for forgetting. The territories of America, Samoa, and Puerto Rico are holding the governor elections as well. Sue me. I know I forgot. And I know I'm a little disorganized, but I'm going to talk only about the governor's race. Republicans have a total of 27 governor seats. Dems with 23. They potentially take, I would say, one. I think looks really good for them. Yeah, probably one. It's probably the Vermont one. I think Republicans might take the North Carolina one. The total might be the same, or might move a little bit in Democrats' favor, or might move a little more in Republicans' favor. It's not going to move much to the needle. I'll be shocked if it'll be a tie. That is a possibility. A pretty small one, but we got to leave the door open to crazy possibilities because this year is going to be very chaotic. It's going to be chaotic, okay? Look, there's already so much vitriol and hate. Just because you have different political opinions, you are considered the enemy, okay? It shouldn't even be that, but that's where we are at. Now I could blame social media, mainstream media, all of that. I also blame people as well because people contribute a lot to this as well. We always cannot put, oh, people are just innocent. They don't know better. No, a good amount of people know better. And the only thing I sympathize with those that are really, really brainwashed. Those are the ones I have compassion for. I just pity you. You're so far gone. There's no point of me talking. And I'll figure that out probably after 3 conversations because I challenge my assumptions a decent amount of times before I reach that horrible conclusion that you're just too brainwashed, or if I'm going to be extra crude, quite frankly, too dumb. So you can see the other points of view. I mean, a lot of people just that made up. You give all the evidence, best case to vote for the other side. A lot of people got their mind made up based on, and I have watched a lot of YouTube, especially I like valuetainment. Adam Susnick, which I'm going to quote here, says a very good point. 90% of the people got their minds made up. It doesn't matter. They're hardcore Trump, hardcore Biden. Doesn't matter what you say. They are just their minds are set. A lot of people's minds are set. You only could sway probably 10% of the electorate. And based on the last records we have, we had about over nearly 160 million Americans voted. I think more than that. It was like what, 85 million versus about 80 million. Yeah, so that's 165 million Americans. You slash that 1 0 off, that's only 16.5 million Americans can be swayed. They can be changed. Or there's another case scenario. People just sit out and don't vote. You can do that at presidential election. Doesn't bother me. Just make sure you vote in the more local elections. You wonder why things don't change? Because you don't pay attention to local elections, like the judges, the school boards. All that is just as important. Your state legislature, local legislature, they're the ones that make laws that impact your life more than the federal government in a lot of ways. Okay? It's limited reaching, but wherever you live at, so you live in North Carolina, if they pass a law that's in New York, you're not going to care because that's not in your state. You might talk bad about it because of the media coverage. You might have indirect impact when New Yorkers come to move in. I mean, that's the worst case scenario, but you're going to care more about the politicians at your state and especially your local area. Their laws are going to impact you immediately. Whatever ban or allowance is going to impact you more. There's more focus towards you. Okay, that's all I want to say. I mean, the Michigan people already plan to sit out, especially the Arab Americans, and at this point, Michigan is official swing state. If that keeps up, I think Trump might win Michigan because I'll say the vast majority of his base is really loyal to him. While the progressives, the left of the Democrats, they're just done. They're done. Okay. So, all right. So, what's the takeaway? There's a whole lot of stuff going on. Trump is winning by a lot. Nikki Haley very behind. Biden got every single delegate so far. The biggest event for y'all, is just for political junkies, is Super Tuesday. That's March 5th. Okay. And we're going to see how much scores are going to get. This is when we know who is strong and who's going to go. But at this rate, a lot of the week already gone. I think Dean Phillips might drop. Nikki Haley will drop once she loses the money. That's only she's running, or she's just hoping for Trump to get locked up or he gets incapacitated. Let me just say it like that. I mean, otherwise, he has no real purpose of staying. Okay. And then for the gubernatorial race, Republicans have 27 seats. Democrats have 23. 8 of their seats up for re-election. 3 of their up for re-election. There's a small chance that the Democrats could even the tie there. 25-25, but I kind of doubt that for some reason. I think this country is very centrist, more centrist than people's willing to admit, both the left and the right. Go too far left, you get pushback. Go too far right, you get pushback. Okay. All right. Let's see. And then the only ones I'm paying attention to is New Hampshire, North Carolina, and Vermont. The rest are pretty boring, in my opinion. A lot of Republicans got their seat unlocked, except for New Hampshire. That's the only one I can see the Democrats take, New Hampshire. That's the only one I can see them take, because Chris Sununu is retiring. He was very moderate Republican. That's why he won. If he was going with that MAGA stuff, we have no chance in New Hampshire, I think. I think a Democrat would have won that. But that's all. And then for Black History Month, I just talked about the inventions. I just added the ninth one, the invention of peanut butter. You know, there's 300 ways to use it, but we use the one for food as a flavor additive for George Washington Carver. Improved ironing board, actually for fur. Now, I'm going to list that as number one. Number two is the improved ironing board by Sarah Bourne. The Homeland Security System, co-invented by Marie Van Britten Brown. The 3-light traffic light system, invented by Garrett Morgan. We still use that one today. Refrigerated trucks by Frederick McKinley Jones. Yeah, he automated out. He created that one all by himself. Automatic elevator doors, invented by Alexander Miles. Before everything was very manual. The electric microphone was co-invented with James E. Brown with a collaboration of a German colleague, Gerhard Sessler. I pronounced his name wrong, oh well. Carbon light bulb filament, that's the thing, that's stuff you put in light bulb. Yeah, excuse my ignorance there, I'm not a scientist. It was invented by, all credit goes to Lewis Latimer there. And in this one, he co-invented these two things. A color IBM PC monitor. So finally the computer gets some color when you turn it on. And the gigahertz chip, co-invented by Mark Dean. So he opened the pathway to more modern computing. Okay. We don't use gigahertz chip anymore. It's more obsolete to a great extent. We just do cloud everything. Cloud, 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 cloud. And George Washington Carver, you can leave him out. Use peanut butter for additives. I don't like peanut butter personally, but doesn't mean I'm going to leave it out. I'm not a big fan of peanut butter. Okay. Just not. All right. That's all I got for you here. I know I threw a bunch of stuff at you, but if you did enjoy this podcast, give a like, share, subscribe for YouTubers, follow for Rumblers, share this with a family member if you think this is great or worthy of it. All right. And then if you're listening to this through Apple Podcasts, leave a star review. If it's a 5, if not, I will like a reason why. And then if it's a 5-star, well, the commentary is completely optional. I'm looking for ways to improve, and trust me, you have some influence on what I'm going to do with my podcast. All right. So for whenever you're listening to this podcast, and I have to especially thank Nigeria. You've been listening to my podcast. I've been paying attention to you. I know I haven't mentioned you at all. It's the first time you're getting a shout out as a country. I know Saudi Arabia paid attention to me before. Nigeria, you've been the ones that's been keeping me relevant. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I wish more Americans see value of this. But you see, you're the smart one. All right. Well, I'm sure they're smart Americans. I'm sure I got them, I don't want to say hooked, but I got you in. Let's just say like that. All right. From whenever you're listening to this podcast, you have a blessed day, afternoon, or night.